Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link, together with a thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Please be nice to me.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello everyone in Discord.
I know where you got your freaking name, Cuddles.
Okay, let's not continue in jokes and in talk from the pre-show. None of the live audience know what's going on, so we'll just move on to housekeeping, if that's okay by all of the panel and Discord. Yes, Nathan.
That's all good. Let's go. Woo-woo.
Good. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
I gave you evidence for that, but I was rumpused, and no one heard it.
What? Sorry, am I in La La Land here? What do you mean you gave it me and we were rumpused? What?
Well, I can describe the situation in which I gave you the evidence, but I can't give you the evidence again.
See, that's why I like John. He's on the same page.
Let me get it
as me.
straight. You're going to
Well
describe...
You mean it was destroyed and too painful a process to put it back together again?
No, he's saying he's already said it, and he can describe the circumstances in which he already said it, but as for actually providing the evidence, he's not going to and can't do that, but he might, as well as that, I assume, John, maybe appeal to the fact that I'm stopping you, right?
That is exactly correct. You don't want to hear the truth.
Good afternoon, Adam.
Afternoon, everyone.
So, you're asking for Earth curve. Is there any evidence of it, despite the humorous aside about distractions from the actual evidence? Any evidence of Earth curve, physical horizon?
It's over there in your thought experiment.
No, physical horizon. Got to speak up. Fading facts, Nathan. Any evidence of the physical horizon called Earth curve?
No, just a misconception of a differential between two flat planes. That's
brilliant. Yeah, that's a misconception
maybe if you
about
stand on a really high mountain.
We might get to that. We might get to that because that would be a differential correction also if Al-Biruni didn't assume a curved surface that he'd just measured flat. But the differential I want to focus on because that's a nice round out to, I don't know, what, a month of a little bit of argument coming our way because they can just about see a route, a crack to weasel in an assumption of R. However, their dip angle correction is actually a differential correction from two flat planes, and I'm hoping John will expand on that. Go ahead, John.
What's happened? Oh, great. The baby's away. I'm sorry.
Should be. It's an outrage. Let's move on. We'll come back to Earth curve as the physical geometric horizon when dip angle correction being performed has a differential correction between two planes. Maybe we'll expand on that later. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Is this thing on?
We wouldn't expect to see it. Reference frames ruined. But Neil deGrasse Tyson still thinks that a ball would deviate slightly in order to make a field goal.
Okay. So the globe claims 15 degrees an hour drift. That's Earth turning beneath as a second non-inertial spinning reference frame. And that's what Neil deGrasse
Reference
Tyson was
frame.
claiming. So again,
Reference frame being not usable, but you would still feel the angular momentum if that was the case.
not necessarily. So Adam actually did a calculation in that regard once. It's about 4 years ago, so he might not be able to. He might not back me up in this regard, and I certainly haven't done the math. But unfortunately, no. The actual physical effects, while you could measure them occurring in a very minuscule way, whether or not you'd actually perceive it is a different story. Am I remembering this correctly, Adam?
You are. That was ball Earth versus carousel. So there was the postulation that if it is spinning, the rate of spin would contribute different centrifugal forces at different latitudes. So you would definitely weigh less at the equator based on the mechanics. I think we worked it out. It was only small, but it was there, wasn't it? So there was a purported effect. The other point of interest with that is that the angle at which the centrifugal force will be applied would vary at different latitudes as well as the intensity of the force. The numbers off the top of my head I can't remember. I'll dig it out when I get home. But yeah, that was just based on their supposition, because that it's spinning, and if it is spinning, these forces are in effect, and what would the effect be at different latitudes?
But the bit that I want you to focus on is the actual the force that you would perceive. Do you remember that bit? I don't want you to give me the numbers just from memory, just so it's coherent in this regard. It was minuscule, right? The actual perceivable.
It wasn't minuscule. It was measurable. It was within a Newton or so, wasn't it? When I worked it out. See if I can find it. Give me a sec.
Okay, so just to dumb this down in case anybody needs it dumbing down, we're talking about the rim velocity. So if you're talking about a roundabout, if you're clinging onto the outside edge, the rim of the roundabout has a velocity. And that's the velocity we're talking about. Now, initially, Adam's talking about the differentials between different points on a sphere that's rotating and how those would give you a different angular force. But overall, the bit I'm focused on is to answer the guy in Discord's question, who was Sci something or other. Sci-Vamp, was whether or not we'd notice, because that's a common misconception. It's like, yeah, I believe Adam's numbers, again, this is going back a long time, suggested that, yes, you could definitely measure it if it was occurring. We can't, it isn't. But how much you would notice it is a different story. In other words, it's not like suddenly you go, whoa, I'm moving 1,000 miles an hour. Not really.
Can I object to this yet, or do you want Adam to get the evidence out?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, well, Adam's going to be a while. I'll shout out Jardu first. He's just speaking on behalf of Quantum Eraser. So he says, hi, Flurfs. Love all of you, even the ether lovers, from QE. Thank you very much for the super chat, Jardu. Go ahead, John. You just crap all over this. Or just, yeah.
Well, Adam mentioned that he was presupposing the sphere and the forces they say would be at play, but we don't have a radial value to Earth, so we're not on the sphere.
Well, let's establish that firmly. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
It's a flat plane. It can't have a radius. But
Arwin brought up Al-Biruni. I don't know if Arwin wants to take the reins in that regard, unless John does. Or I will, if not, either.
I just want to accuse you of being unfair.
Why? What did I do?
I mean, you're asking for a radius that they do have, but you're asking for an Earth radius, which they don't have.
So you're saying it's unreasonable that I don't allow them to give me a radius from a reified model? That's unreasonable, you think?
Exactly, dude. They're living in the model, right? So you're essentially a modelist. Kind of like a racist, but against people who believe in models.
Yeah, you're like Sleeping Warrior. That's what Sleeping Warrior says. You've got to let them beg the question a bit. Got to let them beg the question a bit. Sorry, Arwin, say again.
Right. So I used a foil of you being unfair to illustrate that they're that they're essentially have an incoherent statement when they say they have a radius of the Earth. The question itself illustrates how incoherent their position is. But they're taking a model, like you said, reifying it as reality.
Nobody lives in a model. Come on.
Yeah, that's
What about Model Man?
Model Man? His radius.
Yeah, Model Man.
Barbie's radius. Go on, Alwyn. I was hoping we'd go through Al-Biruni's measurement of a flat plane. I'm going to start hinting at what we're actually going to be talking about if someone else doesn't pick up this subject.
Oh, God. Sure. I'm really terrible at that part, though. But it was amazing. But yeah, how Al-Biruni supposedly measured the radius by measuring the horizon. But he first had to actually size up his position on the mountain by calculating it all on a flat plane, if I remember correctly.
Right, he's taking a differential from two different angles that he takes. So he's taking an elevation angle and getting closer. Or further away, I forget how the story goes. Presumably getting closer, because he's about to go up it. So yeah, we'll say getting closer. And then the difference between the angle, he uses the trig to figure out how high it is. But in order to do that, he had to take two elevation angles and establish that the ground he's measuring them on is flat. Because that's how he derives the height, with a triangle, with a flat baseline, and a 90-degree at the bottom of it. It's an elevation angle measurement, two of them. So once he's measured the ground flat and got the height of the mountain, he goes up it, looks back down towards the horizon, and says that the ground beneath the mountain is now curving, with a radius value that he's going to derive in violation of the very measurement he uses in that calculation to get the height. So he first measures Earth flat, then assumes Earth's got a violating measurement that defies his original height measurement to derive the R value.
Oh, would he realize that he had done that?
He probably didn't even exist. Do you know Al-Biruni existed?
Maybe. I don't think it's even. I think he was probably set up to do this. It was like framed.
It's like saying, did John Connor really steer the car into the forklift without murdering everybody inside the cab? Did he really do that? Did he really pour liquid nitrogen on the T-1000? Is that really how it went down? It's like...
Nathan, there's another way. Go on, John.
I was just going to say that when you put this in a graph, the altitude versus the angle of correction, it forms a curve.
Correction of what?
It's a mathematical. It's the correction between two flat planes, but when you graph it, it forms like a curve, and that's their Earth curve. The correction between two flat planes. They look at that they look at that graph and reify it into the curve of the Earth. I think Adam has actually has the graph that shows that.
Well, you could show it visually. If you went to Metabunk's Earth curve calculator, akin to the one that's on screen now, and you raise in altitude, what you keep drawing out is tangent points to a horizon that's getting further away. And what you're saying is if you map that on a graph as you raise in altitude, what you draw out with all the points on the straight line is tangent points they can derive a curve from mathematically. And that's what they're actually doing. But if you look at what they're in reality measuring, because we don't look side onto our own head, but we have eye/camera top left. And what does it say on the right-hand side below where it says eye level? Anybody see that in G+ and for the live audience? What does it say, John?
Surface level.
It says surface level. So you've got your eye level and you've got surface level. And you've got a differential between the two. That's your dip correction. They call it horizon dip. And what's horizon dip representing with an X marked in red with a label? What does that say? Horizon. That is their Earth curve. So what John's just described is the mathematical derivation from a differential correction between two flat planes, in this case on this diagram, eye level and surface level. I'll just say that bit again. Surface level. And they derive a curve from it. Your Earth curve only exists in this maths.
I was going to say.
If you would humour me.
You're doing all right, Adam. You're okay. You're a good chap.
I'm struggling with reception here a bit, so it's a bit...
Oh, do you want me to humour you some more? Everybody loves you. You're all right. Nobody hates you.
Thank God for that. If you would humour me a second, if you go to Master B, Nathan, when I go on holiday, I do a little bit of tweeting. And it's took me a few days to get the boys there, with lots of ad hom and straw mans and stuff, but you just could go to Master B, page 1.
You want the tweet?
Yeah, so I've just like, it's hard to keep all these things in some kind of semblance of order, so it's the best I've managed to do from tons.
Okay, cup your mic.
But
cup your mic.
Yeah, sorry, is that a bit better?
Definitely.
Yeah, okay, so if we just go to the first page, it's just me talking about they presented a few bits, but what they had presented was a long list of things. There was about 15. Number 6 was the horizon. So I said, well, let's go there. And this is kind of where it relates to this. If you get to the next slide, it's just a little bit more rattering. I've pointed out to them in terms of the horizon. I'm just trying to get them to respect, first of all, that stuff shrinks into the distance. You see, then, I've mentioned, are they aware of Rayleigh criteria and limited angles to the decks, and a tirade of abuse asking me for maps and can you prove a map and so on and so forth. The third slide, I just started to maybe ask them a little question. So I said, if the Earth is a ball, then the distance to the horizon could be no more than 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Correct. We're getting somewhere. Roughly, that does not take into account refraction. What I'm actually trying to get them to admit is, what is the horizon? Is it the leading edge of a ball? So I'm asking them, what sort of refraction are we talking here? Refraction of light, or your imaginary 7/6R based terrestrial refraction, which is never observed or measured, only the mass that holds it all together. Could you clarify which one are you claiming? Any refraction, this is the level of detail they've got, because it's just a magic word that fixes their ball for. Next slide. So as you see there, so no progress on the working map. It seems to be very important to them. So as I said, straw man doesn't demonstrate, that does demonstrate the weakness of your position. In comes another white knight. Nope, it reveals you've got nothing, and that it's not in any conceivable way a straw man. Don't use terms you don't understand. It's so funny how you'll crawl out the woodwork for something you know is false. Next slide.
We've almost lost you completely to wind.
You got me? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay now. Go ahead.
We all know the Earth is... You got me again? We all know flat Earth is a lie and a scam. Is that what you're talking about? So I've responded with the modus tollens and the black swan there. Next slide. This was debunked literally minutes after it was posted. Keyword, refraction. Again, please stop embarrassing yourself. It's painful to watch. So I ask, what sort of refraction are we talking about here? So now you acknowledge refraction. Again, straw man. Why didn't the formula you posted yesterday account for refraction? Geometric. Please define what sort of refraction you claim is occurring to render that flat image. There we go. Hang on. Do you acknowledge refraction exists? And if so, why did you not post it in the formula? I'll ask again. What type of refraction are you claiming here? Answer a question for once, they're saying to me, which is ironic, obviously. You didn't answer my map question. Next slide. We get the picture of the distortion of the far oil rig. What is causing the extreme distortion if you are trying to claim refraction does not exist? Interesting. So the refraction makes cranes go wobbly like that, but also straightens out the sea so it looks flat. Your arguments are starting to crack, aren't they? And this is the one. Yes, that's exactly what happens. You're not expected to understand this. So this is the root of their claim when pressed on it. That's exactly. Magic refraction is the only thing that makes them, as far as I can see here, still reify the horizon as the leading edge of a sphere, even though it renders as flat, and we can see that the effects of some refraction on the platforms. So as I've said, I'll share this thread on Flat Earth Debate. It took a few days, but I finally got the Dunbar admission for their fundamental religious belief in a ball. And I said, thanks guys, it's been fun. I've had a terrain of ad hom and straw mans and many other things. I'm still getting poked now, but I've done having fun with them.
Good job.
Got the point.
Just
That's exactly what happened.
Only one thing you didn't say. Do you know what it is? When he pointed out bendy cranes.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
No, not quite. I'll just give Adam a couple more seconds and then I'll tell him.
Well, I mean, there's the loss of any kind of location in terms of straight lines to anything. But these guys
not quite.
are well
Let me just
below
tell you, I'll
level.
put you out of misery. So, when it comes to them saying, what's this? Look, there's bendy cranes. Obviously, there's quote-unquote refraction. Now, bearing in mind he's not answered Adam, what refraction? What type of refraction are you referring to? Now, if he's talking about the visual representation in a photograph, that's not their refraction. Their refraction is 7/6 of a radius value that they can't get in geometric terms if they can't get r, and they need a straight line tangent to get it. But he didn't get to that. He just pointed out the bendy cranes. What Adam didn't do, no offence, because other than that, fantastic job, was say our horizon isn't the argument. Yeah, that's the argument. The horizon, not the cranes. The horizon is beyond the cranes. So if I go back to the image, the horizon is specifically what we're arguing about, because their claim is that the horizon's Earth curve, a physical limitation to our view. And here it is, beyond the oil rig at 9.2 miles. Now, bearing in mind that, according to them, there should be a limitation at 1.2 miles. But it's beyond this oil rig. Now, that's what we're asking. Why is the horizon that's supposed to be a physical hill in your way behind the thing it's supposed to block? That's the argument. Well, these cranes have got bendy bends. And? Why is the horizon beyond it? Well, because it's refracted. Oh, so refracted at a rate of r that is no longer useful to you if you can't get r. Further to that, 7/6r is a mathematical value. It's not refraction. You might call it terrestrial refraction, but that's not light bending. Snell's law, if you want to call refraction an optical effect. But that's not 7/6 of a radius value. That's 7/6 of a radius value, and it needs a radius value with a straight line tangent to a geometric horizon. That's how you get 7/6 of r. So their refraction's void. And it's not the argument. The argument is the horizon. A hill in the way. That isn't in the way, it's behind what it's supposed to block.
Yeah, that would have been an impossible task to get to. I mean, there are other bits where we've got the second one where they go, aha, look, see, part of the second platform's obscured. But to get them, it's like pulling teeth. So I was more than chuffed to get them to admit that that's exactly what happens. The whole image renders magically for them. I was trying to get them to the limitations, but like I say, as soon as you get them anywhere, they come back with, have you got a map? Have you got a map? Twitter's very frustrating like that, which is why the previous days I'd been inviting them on to Flat Earth Debate, but there was an appeal to format fallacy at that point.
Well, I'd take a leaf out of Anthony Riley's book.
got a map.
In regards to
That's
the
what I
map,
was getting ready to say, Brian.
say again. If you're not?
And no way was I engaging in that one.
Well,
it's hard work keeping them on track.
Hold on. Anthony's way of engaging when people in the comments say, "Have you got a map?" is to say they're all flat. Now, if they decide that they're going to take their argument away from the black swan, which is what you're saying, I don't want to take it away from the black swan. That's where they want to go. But now, recently, with the Haversine formula and our information being disseminated to the audience by John, and indeed to the Globers via Roofy, is now abundantly clear. I mean, we did a little skit yesterday that Arwen put together with the dark side and the light side. What's it called? The light side of the Force? It's not light side, is it? Nobody's telling me. Anyway, dark side and light side of the Force, because the globe-Earth mathematics have been derived from a flat plane in the first instance. That's how they are made. So when it comes to them saying, where's your map? They're flat. Well, that's because it's a globe projection. your globe projection came from a celestial sphere, which is flat. Where they're going to go then?
By the way, they never reference it to the light side. Luke does say that he could turn his father back to the good side, but never say light side.
There we go. But it is light versus dark, good versus evil.
Absolutely.
I think I almost lost the point in that.
The point being that the model has come from a flat Earth. If you're to have a fundy try and distract away from the fact they haven't got a geometric physical horizon to derive R to claim refraction with by asking you for a map, and typically you go, I don't want to shy away from the argument that we're actually having with your red herring. However, Anthony's got a quick and swift way of dealing with the red herring. All maps are flat. Response from globe believer or anti-flat Earth heretic. That's been derived from a globe. It's a globe projection. Response from flat earther, so we're only 3 lines in. That was derived from the celestial sphere model, which is a flat plane. Have a sign formula. End of discussion. All maps are flat, and they started that way with the measurements. What's that? You got a globe in between? That's a nice shit sandwich you got there. Makes no difference. The measurements were taken from a plane. The maps in the end result are flat. What have you got? The bit in between that nobody's using? Nobody's holding a globe and navigating with it. Who cares that you say it's gone through a process of being transposed to a globe and back to flat again?
I was a bit more. I went your route actually on that. Like I said, these threads go everywhere. So that I've just posted in Master B what I responded, because the amount of requests for a map. So I responded with this quote: "The map is not the territory. The world is not the thing it. Sorry, the word is not the thing it describes. Whenever the map is confused with the territory, a semantic disturbance is set up in the organism. The disturbance continues until the limitation of the map is recognised." That didn't get out too well.
No, that was perfect. I mean, what's being described with that quote is reification. If you look up reification as a definition, it has next to it, the map is not the terrain. To give you an example of how reification is true. Now, reification comes in many different forms. If you say flat Earth says that Earth has an edge with boats falling over it, because you don't want to accept the fact that you've got a globe Earth with boats falling over a horizon. But if you say flat Earth says that, that's a reification fallacy. Flat Earth doesn't have lips. Now, if you say flat earthers, it's a stereotyping fallacy. But if you say flat Earth says it, then you're mistaking the concept or description of something as being a person with lips that can describe things. Well, that's not the case. Now, in this case, we're talking about the map being described as your actual reality, a different type but the same fallacy, reification. The map isn't the ground you're standing on. And earlier in the show, we had John saying it's unreasonable, or maybe it was abstruse, that I shouldn't allow our opponents to come and say, I've got an R value in my model. We're not living on your model. The map is not the terrain. And the map's flat. What's that? It came from a globe projection. Yeah, and that was derived from a flat plane measurement.
Adam, going back to that okey doke real quick, where these guys that Adam were talking about were talking about distortion of the oil rigs, right? Not comprehending that the argument's actually about the horizon. Can you really blame like normies for doing that? Because even the subject matter experts do that. I'm always thinking about National Geographic when they've got a flag in the water and talking about how the stripes are disappearing from the flag in the water.
Let go of your mic. Just let go of your mic. Just let go of your mic.
Sorry. Completely ignoring the horizon in the background. Like the subject matter experts do that. How can we expect the normies to just understand it? At least the ones that fight it.
The subject matter. Sorry, the subject matter. Hang on. Yeah, you go, Brian, because you've been waiting.
Thanks, Tent. I'll be quick. Adam, what I would have said to how straight away when they agreed that that's what you should see, right? They debunked that photograph that they put up where you couldn't see all of the buildings. right? Because it's like, so it's not geometric then, so no globe. Good luck to you.
Exactly.
Globes.
Yeah, when it came to the initial responses to the Black Swan, well, it's refracted. So that debunks every claim made at the Isle of Man then. When you said it was a physical limitation blocking the bottom, it wasn't.
No.
It's too big a
No,
leap
nice try.
for them. It's too. All I wanted was either a recognition that the horizon is the leading edge, or what I got, which was that refraction means that the leading edge of a ball renders flat, which was probably more than I hoped for when you engage with these guys. You're never going to get anything. Like I said, as soon as you make a pertinent point, you'll throw, "Where's your map? Where's your map?" It's like getting blood out of a stone, but that's why I was quite pleased, because I actually got the admission. Yeah, that they don't know what their refraction is. Most fundamental. I kept pressing them to give me the description of 7/6R. I kept leading them, and some of them even named it. Is this one you're talking about? So they're not the sort of victories you can get face to face. Like I said, which is why I invited them on.
Yeah, well, they're not going to come because Ferrum's too unfair.
Hold on. Everyone stop. There's a question that's been left out there that hasn't been answered, so I just want to address it first. I can't remember who asked it to credit them. They said, why don't normies recognise this? It might have been Arwin. Well, but I do want to address that, right? Because most normies, flat earth heretics aside, or globe earth heretics aside, your average normie doesn't appreciate the essence of a globe earth claim in the first instance. And by that, what I mean is, most normies don't realise that the horizon is supposed to be a hill getting in the way. Yeah? So if you just imagine for a moment that you're chatting with a normal person that's not involved in this discussion, and you take a discussion about Earth curve from the ground to the air, yeah? They might start to describe the lack of Earth curve being present, not being able to see Earth curving. Now, that is fundamentally opposed to the claim that the horizon literally is just Earth curve, regardless of whether or not they say they see it bending. But they're essentially, a normie, disavowing their own basic comprehension of what the globe Earth is literally claiming. It claims the horizon is a hill in the way of your view. But most people don't appreciate that. So when you present what is seemingly quite a complicated argument to a normie, modus tollens, if the Earth's a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to Earth curve, the hill in the way, can be no more than the maths that Earth curve suggests says it can be. And if it's beyond the maths that the Earth curve says it should be at, the physical hill in the way, then it's not a physical hill in the way, it's not Earth curve. That's the argument in essence. So because it's not phrased the way I just phrased it, when an opponent says, well, here's how you overcome it to the normie, because they've done a quick cursory search. Refraction. Here's the example. Look at the cranes. Don't look at the horizon. Don't look around the eyes. Look at the cranes. They're bent. Therefore, refraction. I'm not going to explain that refraction's a mathematical derivation in a view that doesn't have perspective, that sees the side of your own head. I'm not going to tell you that it needs a geometric horizon to derive it either. But refraction, look at the cranes. Don't look around the eyes. Don't look at the Earth curve hill that's not in the way. Because that's what the paradigm's been set up to do. Confuse you in such a manner that you won't recognise the very essence of the claim. The claim being that the horizon is a hill in the way.
That's exactly my point. Sorry, real quick. That was exactly my point and why I brought it up, because it's literally the okie doke. Like you said, don't look at the horizon, look at the rigs. Well, that's what National Geographic does. It's look at the flag, look at the stripes that are disappearing. Don't look at the horizon all the way in the back.
Well, may I attack both
you can after
the
10th,
positive claim they make?
You can after 10th. Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah, thanks. The subject matter expert that Chocolate is referring to, as well as the other ones that may fall into the same category, is Andrew Thomas Young. And Andrew Thomas Young said about refraction that all his refraction calculations came from a plane, but the Earth isn't flat. So what they do is and this will answer the other question I tried to get in 20 minutes ago. they take an assumption that they live on a globe, and then they try to mathematically get us to that globe when reality fights them. So it's the same as Andrew Thomas Young with reality, refraction over a plane, but then he has to assume he lives on a globe. So then he comes out with the next phrase. So we're going to do geometrical considerations. Oh, okay. So you assume the Earth is a globe first, then you do your refraction studies from a flat plane, calculations, and then say, but I don't live on a flat Earth because I'm assuming a globe. So now let me mathematically get me back to a globe. It's just a model. It's just mathematical. It's now reality. They do this over and over and over again. Adam's point with Black Swan is, hey, it's supposed to be at 1.22 miles if we have an R value. Well, if we saw curvature at 1.22 miles at a 1 foot observer height, we wouldn't be saying the Earth is in a sphere. We don't see curvature at 1.22 miles out at a 1 foot observer height. So we say, how'd you get your R value? Well, they got their R value because they assumed it was a globe. So it's just built on assumptions. That's why it's falling apart like a house of cards. There was something else I had to say, but I forgot. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was just going to.
Sorry. They're coming in thick and fast now still.
Copy mic. Copy mic.
It's so bloody windy at the beach. Maybe you could read it, but from Stephen Jones, I've just posted it in Masturbate.
Too small. I can't read that. Can someone read that?
I could read it. You want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay, terrestrial refraction is a refraction of light, you absolute imbecile. Then, refraction of light, you're likely an idiot parrot from QE, so you should know on Earth, then due to the atmosphere, we are talking about terrestrial refraction, which is still a refraction of light. You should know exactly what is being talked about.
Perfect. So what he's done is
You see how they work?
Yeah, introduce a begging the question fallacy. So the word atmosphere is the assumption that light is going to be bending through sphere-shaped air. So we know that it's going to be 7/6 of a radius value because we live with sphere-shaped air that bends light at 7/6 of the radius value. How do I know? Well, because it's been ascribed as sphere-shaped air. Here it is. Atmosphere. So I assume air is sphere-shaped, therefore light will bend through it at the rate of the sphere-shaped air. So just beg the question. Well, let's just get down to brass tacks in terms of that sphere-shaped air. That would mean if you had sphere-shaped air, you had an R value to make the connection to it. And you get it from a geometric tangent point. That's Earth curve, the edge of it. Like in the diagrams earlier, the horizon marked with an X with a straight line to it. That's the geometric Earth curve hill in the way, with a straight line to it, to measure it, to prove it's there. What's that? You say that line's bent at a rate that precludes you from getting that line. You can't get that R to bend the line if you can't get the point at a tangent. So it's a paradox, fondly labelled the Arwinian paradox. Go ahead.
It's an incoherent logic statement. Okay, and to be fair to them, you just said earlier that you weren't going to allow to beg the question, but then you just did. So 7/6R being applied to light can only be applied to a single ray. It requires more than one ray to resolve an image. So that tells you something's wrong. What are they applying 7/6R to? Light? No, they're applying it to the radius of the Earth. How do we know this? Because they need a geometric horizon. You already said the Earth curve hump is in the way, but I can see something that I shouldn't see. So what do I need to do to solve this problem? I need to lower the hump. That way it's not in my way and I could see it. So to maintain my paradigm, I still need to be on a sphere, but I need to be in orthographic view to do this math. So I convert the sphere to a circle. I then use the circle segment formula, right? From point A to point B, which is a chord. right? I then get the sagittah between that, which is the apex arc, right? Part of the circle segment formula. I need to lower that. How do I do that? I change the radius. I increase it to 7/6. I haven't done anything with light. I've literally changed the radius. In that regard, it's still a geometric consideration. So now they're operating in a category error. Now, if you then give me a supersedery observation greater than 7/6, I just dial it up and lower the sagittah even more. Now, lo and behold, if you go to Walter Bislet's calculator right now, you could do this for yourself and see that that's what it does. It lowers the sagittah, it changes the radius. Now you say, well, how much wiggle room do I have here? You know, these flat earthers are stressing me. I need to account for these observations. How far can I account for? Well, the refraction slider goes all the way to, you guessed it, my friend, 65 billion mile radius. So that should cover all observations any flat earther could come up with.
Other than you'd need a sagittah. What's a sagittah?
Yeah.
What's that? Didn't hear you answer.
My answer was just laughter.
Yeah, but in seriousness, what's a sagittah?
Oh. The sagittah is the apex arc between point A and point B, otherwise known as the big hump of Earth curve in the way.
So you're going to need an Earth curve with a geometric straight line tangent to it in order to assert the maths in the first instance. Or to put it another way, you'll need R.
Well,
Object.
you got it. Now, I want to ask you this question. Do I need an exact value
Before you
for
get
R?
to asking a question, somebody objected. Go ahead, John.
Well, even if the horizon appeared at 1.22 times the observer's height in feet away from us, every time we viewed it, even if that held true, the positive claim that they make about the horizon, even if they're claiming the 7/6 R refraction, right? So move that horizon. None of them can be true. The Earth must be flat to acquire elevation angles.
Yeah, spot on. Okie dokie.
Hang on. I was waiting for someone to come in, but they didn't. So with that, we have documented from celestial navigation sources, not flat Earth sources, that's for sure, that all the angles come from something labeled 0 degrees. Now, I wonder what is labeled 0 degrees. Oh, yes, the equator. The plane of the equator, the center of Earth, is in the middle of that disk. And that's where all the measurements in the Nautical Almanac books are derived from and called true altitude. What the sailor navigator must do is whatever observations they take with the sextant, there's corrections, and the corrections are twofold. One is on the instrument itself to calibrate it properly to the plane of the instrument so you can get a vertical angle above the horizon, the sea horizon. And the other is corrections with your height above sea level and a few other corrections about celestial refraction. You know, that bendy crane, that's the same as a star low at the horizon. And they say, don't do those measurements because they'll apply more math, it'll take you longer. But we have standard formulas for it anyway, because you can only standardize them because you know what true altitude must be from the plane of the equator. So all of their angle measurements come from a flat disk, which is called 0 degrees, the plane of the equator. And everything a navigator does is to match that. So ball game over, and John is right.
Define refraction.
Deviation from straight in terms of light if it traverses two different mediums in the case of Snell's law?
Snell's law? Really? Snell's law in optics, a relationship between the path taken by a ray of light. Rays of light don't exist, by the way, but I digress. And crossing the boundary or surface of separation between two contacting substances and the refractive index of each. Can you tell me where the two refractive indexes and the boundaries or surfaces are in our atmosphere, curve-shaped air?
No, but I can show you light deviating from its straight path in the form of those bendy cranes, can't I?
That's not Snell's law. That's not refraction.
What is it?
I'll tell you
I
what
have
it
no
is.
idea, but it's not refraction.
Diffusion.
Oh.
I'll tell you what it is.
Why isn't it refraction?
I'll
Because
tell
you
what
don't
it
have
is.
boundaries or surfaces.
Because it's not bending around a ball.
No, that's not refraction either. No. You're telling me you can't have two different densities of air, one being heated up below? Why not?
It's not two
I'll tell
different
you.
densities. Listen to the definition again. Snell's law in optics, a relationship between the path taken by a ray of light, that doesn't exist, by the way, but I digress, and crossing the boundary or surface of separation between two contacting substances. What are the two contacting substances in the atmosphere? Trainwreck.
I haven't got two different substances, but what I do have is
Fraction.
I've got a early stage of entropic diffusion with a more...
What?
I'm getting there. Give me a chance. I've got an early stage of entropic diffusion with a phase change taking place. So at the surface level of the water, you've got a phase change, and it's introducing a more higher density or higher concentration of water vapor into the air. Well, obviously, with time, that's going to diffuse throughout the air and eventually go up and form clouds. But because there's a very large surface of water, there's going to be a quote-unquote layer, and I use my words badly.
No, you don't. You don't got water either.
I mean, I don't got water. They're on
You
the
said
water.
water. Yeah, you said water. That's not liquid.
Water vapor.
We're talking
I said.
about
I said
the
water vapor.
atmosphere.
I said water vapor.
That's water vapor is not water. Liquid water.
So why are we having this conversation? Who cares? The
Because
argument's
no
about
one
the
knows what
horizon.
refraction is.
Well, only because I can see bendy cranes. Not in these images of the black swan, but in some of them.
May I throw 2 cents in on this?
No, just give me a minute.
You still haven't overcome Snell's law.
Okay, it doesn't meet the definition of Snell's law. I'll concede.
It's a red herring.
It's over right there. Why even go any further?
I didn't even need to go that far. I don't know why we ended in the argument. The argument's about the horizon. Whereas when they begurk refraction, that Andrew Thomas Young claim that's on screen now defies what they require in their first instance claim. The point marked G is Earth curve horizon. If it's not at G, it's not blocking the Isle of Man, it's not blocking boats and buildings, it's not got things falling over it with a measurable value in feet and inches that excludes perspective. The moment you refract the horizon, it's no longer geometric, it's no longer Earth curve. So who cares?
Number one, you
Also-
can't have refraction. You can't have refraction because it doesn't meet the definition. Number two, even in their fairy tale paradigm, you can't refract the horizon.
Correct.
Everything's in relation to the horizon.
Exactly.
Number two. Number
Exactly.
three, you need curved gases. Gases have no definite shape. And then you need a radius value. Then
Precisely.
you need two substances. This is why don't you just call it amoeba 7-6?
There you go. So there's a list of about 5 different things that you can spot. I think I went through 3 of them just before you got here, actually, QE, and I'll put one of them back up on screen because I already identified it. The use of the word atmosphere. What you need as a glober to make this 7/6R terrestrial refraction that needs an R that's debunked if you're using it on the horizon is sphere-shaped air. Air doesn't take the shape of a sphere. It's an arbitrarily assigned assumption to air that's in a vacuum taking the shape of a sphere and not dispersing into the vacuum. It's horse crap.
It failed first grade intro to gas behavior, literally. Grade level. This is from Christy Bodak, Southwestern University. Grade level. I will use this lesson with a first grade class. If an object is in a gaseous state of matter, it will not have a definite shape or a definite volume. You'd fail. All the ballers, you'd fail. First grade intro to gas behavior. You're fanatical, religious.
The globe model fails 5th grade general introduction to gas behavior because the globe model violates that gas behavior in its description. The gas that's around the sphere Earth in the model, because we don't live on that model, but in the idea of that model, that idea wouldn't work in physical reality because the gas, the clouds that you see when they show you Earth from space, you've got clouds around the blue marble, right? They're right next to a vacuum. That's high pressure gas not dispersing. It's ludicrous.
What model?
The
Can I see that
container
model?
just like water.
Yeah.
So is the firmament sphere or dome shaped?
Excuse me, before we go on to the red herring of the firmament, I just want to point out again that Earth cannot be curving at a rate of R or 7/6R, else you would not be able to attain elevation angles.
Yeah, it violates
Thank
the
you,
celestial
John.
sphere model as well.
Yeah, but
Nathan, can you go to Master B?
I can, but this guy has just grabbed the reins. 10th.
yeah.
Well, but I tried to get this in while you were talking to QE. You forget that?
I didn't hear
Yeah,
you.
and
Too
I
bad.
asked what model?
Okay, right. We're going to deal with this swiftly because otherwise it's going to descend into not enough time to cover everything. So 10th, you go first. Then the guy from Firmament Discord guy will come to you after.
Okay. All of the books say refraction is cold air and hot air, whether it's water is cold and the air is hot above the water, something to that effect. So here's one, and this one I just grabbed. It says abnormal refraction. Deceptions of vision at sea are produced by abnormal refraction of light, which in the more extreme cases give rise to false images of land, ships, and other objects. Generally, abnormal refraction at sea is due to an inversion of temperature in a layer of air and variations in density thus produce, causing the light rays to be bent considerably in excess of normal conditions. The most frequent and most favorable conditions for excess refraction, under which most of more fantastic forms of mirage or distortion take place, occur when the layer of warm air is in contact with cooler water. The air next to the surface of the sea is cooled, and consequently the upper layers are warmer than the lower, so that instead of the usual decrease, there's an increase of temperature with height. Most refraction phenomena are formed at the boundary between the cold, dense layer of air and the surface of the sea, and the less dense warm air above.
Isn't that what I said? That's pretty much what I said, isn't it? I know you're going to laugh at it, but that's what I said, isn't it?
That's beautiful. This condition is identical to that which is responsible for the formation of most sea fog. Therefore, the presence of fog is an indication that excessive refraction is likely to be encountered. Similar inversions may be caused by presence of cold air over warm water. A marked difference between air and sea temperature is therefore another guide to the presence of excessive refraction. Although abnormal refraction is not restricted to particular geographical areas, certain regions, here we go, of the globe are so situated with respect to general meteorological conditions as to be more favorable than others for the occurrence of abnormal refraction phenomena. The polar coasts are among the most favorable of these regions because of the frequently prevalent marked difference between sea and air temperatures. Now, he's talking about if you're near the polar areas and have ice, but nowhere, not even once, 7/6R. Nothing.
No, because that's a derivation of an R value, a geometric value that only applies in a mathematics that excludes all perspective and all views that you could actually take in with your eyeballs.
That's not refraction.
I was going to say, I was getting there, I promise. It says refraction, but in that respect, is that any more or less refraction than terrestrial refraction? Abnormal refraction? It's like, what's refraction? Is that occurring? Now, by the classic definition, if you read off Snell's law, no, it's not. What's the two different mediums? Well, there isn't. Now, you can describe the diffusion occurring, but that's a bit loose, isn't it? It sounds very much like they've decided to ascribe it to that effect, but is it? Well, we don't know. It might be.
No, but QE is right here because when they come back, they always show that straw or spoon in a glass of water. Okay, two different mediums. Okay, but that's not what's happening at sea. It's the air next to the water, and the horizon is a demarcation. It's not, you're not sticking anything in the sea. It's where they meet. And it's the same reason why they don't want you to take star sightings from 0 to 10 to 15 degrees above sea level. It's that same thing with the Rayleigh criteria. It's everything comes back to what? Compression. And it's like, well, there's too many things happening here at the low level. So let's go higher to get a clear understanding of where the angle is.
Yeah, not true of the stars, though, is it?
No, they have a table for this thing exactly and no more than 34 minutes. So they already know what it is. It's not 7/6 off.
I agree with you in every respect. I'm just trying to trigger Brian. Right. Okay. Let's just say there's a hill in the way between you and a star that you're observing at the horizon. Forget about refraction just for a moment. Hopefully Brian's listening. If you have the horizon, that's Earth curve in this example, blocking your view because you're only half a foot above the water, or a foot just to make the maths easy, right? So you've got a hill in the way at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, according to the globe Earth claim. Earth curve blocks your view. Okay. So therefore, as you rise in elevation, it should be possible to bring stars back from behind the obstruction. Because all you're doing, if Earth is a sphere with an obstruction, is raising your view above the obstruction, if you raise in height. So riddle me this. If you raise in height, can you bring a star back from behind Earth curve? Answer, no. They don't behave in that way. Why? Because the horizon isn't an Earth curve hill obstructing the view of the star. Once it goes beyond the horizon, that's it.
Yeah, I hope QE is listening. Is QE still there? Because he hasn't heard this one. I'll take it he's listening.
It's the celestial black swan. If the Earth's a sphere with a radius of 3959, then every distance to the obstruction blocking your view of the star can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and will be less of an obstruction as you raise in altitude, bringing back the star from behind the hill that obscures it. And if it doesn't, then it isn't.
Yeah, is QE there? He was there a minute ago. I was listening. Are you there, QE? Well, I'll just throw it out anyway. Yeah, if a boat is at the equator and it's using a marine sextant, take its angle to Polaris, we'll see Polaris at 0. If there's an airplane at the equator that's 6 miles above sea level, and its navigator uses a bubble sextant to take an angle to Polaris, it will get 0 also. Now, the claim for a long time has been that the reason the boat gets 0, the mariner on the boat, is due to Earth curve causing the 0. But a pilot in a plane can be directly above that boat, 6 miles up in the sky, and still get a 0. They're both getting a 0. Now, I postulate that it's due to the horizon always appearing to rise to eye level. Well, I don't know what the real reason is. I know that it's not our curve.
Let's just preemptively discuss the rebuttal. So let's just say they, for the sake of argument, say that light's coming in parallel. So not bending at a rate of r, but all of it, everywhere, across every perspective view you have, is all straight, always lining up with each other parallel, with the stars. So definitely not bending at a rate of r then.
No.
No. And the horizon's definitely not getting in the way of the star. And then if you get a bit higher, it's not getting in the way like a hill. Because if your view of a star that's at 10 degrees is obscured by a hill, and you go up in altitude, you can bring a star back from behind a hill. But Earth curve isn't the horizon. It doesn't behave like a hill that's blocked your view of a star that you can go up higher to relieve yourself of that obstruction. It never works like that with the Earth curve. And the fact that they are the same at any altitude, their explanation for it completely flies in the face of their claim of Earth curve with a geometric value ascribed to refraction.
They're screwed.
Yeah.
They're totally screwed.
And John would say refracted curvature at this point, you can't get a what?
An elevation angle measurement from a
sorry.
curved baseline. Sorry, John. Thought you'd gone.
Oh yeah, no, that's it. So like when we discuss Earth curve or anything like that, how did we measure anything involving an angle with a curved baseline?
We didn't. What we did do is measure Earth as a flat plane. And with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, hit the thanks button after the fact, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!